All right, guys, welcome back. This is Matt and I's video series on our assessment process when we get a new client, what we're looking for, how we can really help you guys. We started off on variable number one talking about the training aspect. Typically, I think there's a big gap in terms of what the training should look like versus what initial clients come to me training like, and that's really one of the variables that I feel like I can really help people bring them to the next level the most. But I also want to talk about another variable of training that is very underaddressed, underconsidered. I want to talk about you guys that are coming to me that are literally training balls to the wall, because this does happen. For example, Nick Walker is a great example of this. One of the biggest changes that we made to Nick's plan this year for the past 400 days, basically from USA's last year to, or 300, well, however many days it was, to North Americans this year, was we included more rest in his plan. We started off his rebound phase last year with only training 4 days a week. And basically what we learned through that phase was his rate of progress was so exponential. And really the only thing that we changed in terms of variable was including more rest. So for those of you guys coming to me looking to make it to the next level, and you feel like you're doing everything right, you feel like you're training all out, like one of the things I'm going to really look at in terms of your split is, okay, how are you prioritizing rest and recovery within your split? Not only within off days, within set off days, which I think are very important because determined individuals can very easily convince themselves to continue to do something over and over again, whether it's the right thing to do or not. And then also, like, how well are you sleeping? That to me is also crucial, which we can talk about with you. But yeah, so that's the other part. Like, I don't want you guys to think that, like, I'm just trying to look for where your shortcomings are, or, you know, just accusing you of not training hard, because I'm very aware that there's a lot of people that come to me that are training very hard, and ultimately they're training too hard, that way they can't recover to elicit a greater amount of work over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's common that, you know, I'll just use my client Gerald Williams as an example. He's been the best client I've had. We got him to the Olympia in men's bodybuilding. He won the Cal Pro. I'm basically there for a safety net for him. If it was up to him, he'd train 7 times a day, every day.
Right.
So a lot of guys, you do have to force them to take rest, because, you know, a lot of bodybuilders are obsessive compulsive about things. And fortunately, I've never been one of those people. I probably rest a little too much sometimes. I've taken a little too many rest days in my past, but I've definitely never been afraid to take a rest day. And I've always said, if you can train more than 3 consecutive days in a row, you're probably doing it wrong.
100%.
You shouldn't be able to go more than 3 days in a row, I feel like. If you're progressing through a set properly, which is, you know, going back to the training talk, you know, that's kind of, a lot of people don't know how to properly progress through a set. They don't know, you know, really what failure even is.
Right.
And they also don't know, you know, a question I get a lot is, well, how do I know when I'm done? Like, how many sets do I do? I feel like for me, I don't know how you answer that question, but it's like, I don't really have an answer, because I just know.
Right.
You know, like when I leave, I'm done.
Right.
You know, if you're not having that feeling, then I guess you're probably not, you know, the intensity isn't there. But yeah, you should never be afraid to take a rest day.
Right. I actually, just another example, this literally happened to me this morning. I just started working with a client that is very, very good. And again, in my initial assessment process, the first thing that I looked at was his training. Looking at his physique, I know he trains extremely hard. So I looked at his split, and basically this guy was on a push-pull leg split that went push-pull legs off. And I sent him an email this morning, and I basically said, if you are training at the level of effort that I expect you to train at, there is absolutely no way that you could adhere to this schedule week after week. You know, and guys, going back to what I did this spring, I made some of the best progress I ever made, and I was training 3 days out of every 5. So basically that goes into 6 days out of every 10, and then it goes into 9 days out of every 15. So that work to rest variable was very high, and in that I just made tremendous progress. So for those of you guys, whether you want us to coach you or not, one of the biggest factors that I hope you get out of this video is that if you are training hard, you have to prioritize rest and recovery. And just to say it again, I would really encourage you guys to have set rest days. You know, like right now down here in Florida, our set rest days are Tuesday and Saturday, because we are very, very driven individuals. So like if you get to an off day, but yet you haven't really set it as an off day, you can very easily convince yourself, oh, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling okay, like I'm just going to train today. And that's when that downward spiral of not really enabling your recovery to allow you to do a greater amount of work starts to happen. All right, so set days where you consistently rest, monitor your rest within those days, monitor your ability to recover in terms of your sleep, and then you have to make sure that your performance is going on an upward trend. All right, so hopefully that helps some of you guys that are, whether, like I said, whether you're looking to coach this or not, like this variable to me is so important that I hope you guys just really grasp onto it. The value of rest and recovery. And then just one other point too, like I look up to and respect Dorian so much because I think in so many ways he had things so right. He was in an era where, I'm not going to say he wasn't genetically blessed, but he was beating guys that were more genetically superior to him. And I think the reason why he was able to do that over and over again was because he outsmarted them. And part of that outsmarting them started with his ability to really be able to see his own biofeedback, pay attention to it, see how he was recovering, and then be able to apply that to a long-term plan.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, I've always said, that reminds me, I've always told people that bodybuilding is not about who does things the hardest all the time. It's about who does things the smartest.
100%.
And that can't be truer. And just Dorian kind of was a pioneer of that, and he's the one that really figured that out.
For sure, yeah. So if you're looking for somebody to look up to in the sport of bodybuilding, if you're looking for somebody to study, look up to Dorian. I mean, he really, really had it right. And if for those of you guys that don't have any money, can't afford a coach, again, just research Dorian. Research what Dorian did. There's a book on Apple Books that goes through his training journal for, I believe, 6 years. And one of the biggest things that I picked out within his training journal was the notes that he took on his recovery. Basically, at the end of every session, he made notes about, today was a great day, I nailed it, or I didn't really sleep that good last night, or I'm starting to feel a little bit fatigued from the training buildup of the week. He was very, very in tune with his own recovery and feedback. So again, look him up. I would highly recommend for those of you guys that want to make the best out of your bodybuilding venture to purchase that book. I think it's $20. It's going to be well worth your time.